Hey, this is Bijal, and I want to share. This may be a bit more of a somber sharing than normal, but I think it's kind of relevant for maybe what a lot of people are going through. Even though it's one component of relevancy. So let me kind of go back 2, 3 weeks. So I was in a coaching session. I was one of the co-coaches, and an incident happened during the coaching session where the topic of asking questions was brought up, and it triggered me. And this was a case of information being shared and people not getting it. But instead of asking for clarity or asking for guidance or support, people would generally just kind of not ask. So when it got raised to the surface that that this person or people in general don't ask for help, it triggered me. I couldn't pinpoint why. It's been bothering me for a few weeks, and I know I got triggered, and it was an emotional reaction, which I'm not proud of as a coach, but I couldn't put my finger on why this troubled me so much, why I got triggered emotionally so much, and so I moved past it. But yesterday I was in another coaching session, and during this, something else was said, and kind of a aha moment came across me. And what I connected it to was there was back in 2002, 2003, we had just moved into our kind of dream home in Carlsbad, San Diego, and we just moved from Chicago to San Diego. We had moved into our dream home. And a year into, not even maybe a year, but 6 months into moving to our new home, started to realize that things were not all fine. Anyway, long story short, I found out that my then business partner was kind of deceiving us, and the business we thought we had didn't really exist. And there's a financial situation that came out about it. And the net result was not only did we lose a lot of money in that time period, we're also forced to sell our home. Now, if I say forced to, it's because I didn't ask for help, meaning that I was paralyzed. Like if I look back at that time period, I never reached out to ask people, do you know somebody who could help us financially figure out how we can keep our home given the financial situation? Looking back, there's probably a dozen different things we could have done to save the house. Anyway, it was almost like, if I look back, I was almost like a deer in headlights. I kind of just froze and let the events play out. I wasn't proactive. I didn't ask for help. And that was my huge lesson in I don't know if it was fear. I don't know if it was pride. I'm not sure what it was. But for whatever reason, I never reached out to my circle of friends back in San Diego. And it wasn't like we didn't know anybody. We knew a lot of people. But for some reason or other, we never asked. We never asked, what could we do to resolve this financial situation, keep the house in our name, save the house. Now, we didn't go into bankruptcy or default, whatever, but we did sell the home prematurely. Over the next couple of years, the house value increased $250,000. Probably today, it maybe even close to $1 million. And I'd love to say I've purged this out of my system, but obviously I haven't. But it all came down to not asking. So where does this not asking for help come from? So that's kind of a question I've been kind of exploring, for a few weeks, maybe subconsciously, and especially since yesterday. And I think it goes back to childhood, like most things, but definitely in schools. I definitely remember being afraid to ask questions in school, even being afraid to ask questions of parents sometimes for the fear of looking stupid or looking like an idiot, especially in front of your classmates or others. And I think as and the irony is today, I encourage my kids to ask questions, no matter how dumb the question may seem to them. It's and as a participant in other groups, I love to ask questions. When I don't understand something or when I don't think something's clear, but it came at the cost. The lesson came at a cost. So when did I learn this lesson? Well, the incident, the losing the home happened, 2003. We're not losing the home, but selling the home, prematurely happened in 2003. But it wasn't until 2009 that I was part of a workshop. And one of the very early teaching points of the workshop was the power of asking questions. So between where you are right now, and maybe you're dealing with a situation, maybe you're dealing with making choices, was the importance of asking the question, the right questions. And so I encourage you to kind of look at where you are right now. Look at whether it's a business or career in life, whatever it is, and ask yourself if there's an unknown, if there's confusion, if you're resisting doing something, if you're anxious or worried, if there are problems or challenges you're facing, and you're looking for solutions. What is the question that could open the door, the pathway, the way to a solution coming to you? It could be in the form of a friend, an expert, a mentor, a coach, even a content out there on video. I mean, the irony is that we ask questions of Google and YouTube kind of all the time, right? Every time we want to search for something, we will jump on Google and actually enter in, a question or keywords that will lead to a solution appearing. But when it's very personal to us and when it involves human interaction, we are not as we tend to have a hard time, or many people tend to have a hard time in asking for help. So imagine there was, and this kind of goes back to something my wife Yogi is going through right now. She's getting help organizing her iPhone and the computer and stuff. And she's been taking great advantage of the fact that there's a helpline, there's an Apple helpline. She gets on the helpline and she asks. So we are familiar with the concept, but yet some of us, and I believe it's true of me, even in some areas, there's a little bit of maybe pride or maybe even fear that creeps into us, or maybe it doesn't even creep into us. It's just a freaking wall that prevents us from asking questions. So if you find yourself not asking for your help, even though there's uncertainty, there's decisions, there's things you want to learn or want to know, maybe now's the time to sit down and make a list of those questions. We don't know where these answers will come from. But if you don't ask the questions, the likelihood is they'll never come to us. But if you at least know what the questions are, they may come to us. And if you're brave enough to ask the questions, they may come to us even sooner. Anyway, that's just a sharing. I hope that helps. And if you happen to watch this video, but again, it's all about the power of the ask. And there's a way we can frame our questions with clarity. Sometimes the question we ask is not clear. So we need to add clarity. We need to add depth to the questions. And it's interesting. I think there are several articles and books around this subject of how to ask clearly. So if you go to Amazon, in fact, I just Googled it just before I got on this live, and there are a couple of books that actually teach you how to ask in a way that's purposeful and allows you to kind of get the answer you're looking for more often than not. Anyway, have a great weekend, and remember, everything is around the power of asking. So if you're stuck, reach out and ask a friend, a neighbor, Google, YouTube, whatever it may be, and see if that solution comes forth for you. Bye for now.